Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to hashtag Ad by Penji. This is the podcast where we discuss everything influencer marketing related. We talk tips to help assist you in your influencer journeys and so much more. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's influencer coordinator. Today, I'm joined with a very special guest, Angel Zheng. Hi, Angel. How are you?
Hi, I am doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's very good to have you on the podcast. For anybody who wants to get to know you, who doesn't know about you, or who is curious, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your presence in social media, what your main platforms are, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just need to mute everything.
That's fine.
Sorry, I should have done that. Do you want to restart the intro?
No, yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and restart.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to hashtag Ad by Penji. This is the podcast where we discuss everything influencer marketing related. We talk tips to help assist you in your influencer journeys and so much more. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's influencer coordinator. Today, I'm joined with a very special guest, Angel Zheng. Hi, Angel.
Hi.
Hi, it's very good to have you today on the podcast. For anybody who doesn't know anything about you or what you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your social media and where you're most present?
Yeah, sure. So I started out as a marketer, and then social media was always just sort of a not even side gig, like just a fun creative outlet for me. But now I create content around everything really, like lifestyle, fashion, beauty, books, productivity, career, personal growth. So I am the most present on YouTube currently, but I do also upload quite often on TikTok and Instagram as well.
Interesting. So when I was actually looking at your social media, it was very interesting for me to see that you had this sort of progression of starting out as it just being a side gig, and as it has grown, it seems like you have put more and more focus on it, right?
Mhm.
Um, how did you actually start that YouTube journey? I think I've seen you most active on YouTube. How did you actually start posting? I think a lot of people who want to start posting, especially on YouTube, tend to be very scared of that specific platform. How was it for you?
Yeah. I started YouTube when there was no way to monetize on YouTube. And it was really, truly just like people sitting in their bedrooms, like applying makeup or like showing what's in their bags. Like it was so purely for fun. So I actually started when I was in, I want to say like grade 11 or grade 12 in high school. Um, Really just because I watched so much YouTube and I loved kind of following along the like life journeys of some of the YouTubers that I loved. So I was like, okay, yeah, I want to try this too. I've always enjoyed playing with cameras. So I just set up my camera one day and just started talking to it. By no means was it good content. It was so like low definition. I was really just like regurgitating the same things that like my favorite YouTubers would be presenting in their videos, except just for my life, which was way more boring at the time. But yeah, so that's kind of how I started. I would say for anyone who's looking to start today, there's this aspect of because we know that it is a monetizable platform and something that you can turn into a career that I think puts this additional level of pressure on it. But I think my best advice for anyone looking to start any type of social media platform is really just to start with the intention of it being not monetizable. So like intention for it to be a craft or a creative outlet and really use it as an opportunity to learn all the soft skills and hard skills that you need to be a content creator. So like making videos, writing scripts, telling a story, editing, filming, all of that. And I think that's probably the best way for you to really develop it as a craft and build it into something that can be a career and that can replace your full-time job. Yeah, I know it's scary, like talking to a camera. I still get nervous talking to a camera, especially when I'm out in public, but really it's just practice. And the best way you're going to get practice is just by doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I guess nowadays the pressure of it being monetizable has also made it so that people are starting YouTube with that intention already, whereas
Yeah,
people kind of just stumbled upon it, right?
totally.
And it was totally just for fun, whereas now people are seeing it as like, okay, I want to make this my job. Um, so I know that you started, aside from YouTube, you were also into freelancing. You also had a full-time job. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that balance happened or how that, all of that process and transition into now you focus mostly on your social media happened? Because I think we have a lot of people who want to make that jump and they are not really sure how to do it or how to get
Mhm.
out of, I mean, it can be very scary to quit a full-time job for
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. How I mean, I didn't really ever go into it thinking I'd be working on my social so much and working a full-time job. Like I kind of mentioned, it was really just like a creative outlet for me. So it started as something that I just worked on the side for fun whenever I had time. And then I like kind of pursued my like traditional career path, and then had that as a hobby. And then slowly over time, I just found that my platforms were growing. I was like building this amazing community, and then brands started reaching out very organically. And so I was like, okay, amazing. Like taking this on for whatever it is at the time and just like continuing to work on it. And it really wasn't until probably like 3-ish years ago or 3 or 4 years ago where the income that I was making from my social media platforms was starting to match or like get close to my income at my full-time tech job. And I was like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, how did this happen? Um, so I think that was when I really started to not shift my focus, but like put more time and effort and just spend more of my non-working hours towards building my platforms and just seeing where I could take it. As far as leaving your full time and go and like wanting to pursue this full time, I totally get it. It is amazing. I can't even deny that. I love what I do and it's so much fun and I get to work with the coolest brands. But I think the best advice I can give you is to start from that path of having a full-time job first, or at least some other form of income so that you don't have to worry about money, right? You don't have to worry about like paying the bills and like putting food on the table, because I think that if you dive right in to trying to make this your full-time thing, it kind of starts to take the joy out of it a little bit.
Oh
And I
my
hear
gosh.
that a lot. Yeah, I hear that a lot from my creator friends. I do feel it a little bit now, given like I obviously worked full time for a really long time and I still do freelancing. So it's not like this is my like only source of income even at this point, but there is that added pressure of like, okay, if I don't make X amount of videos or don't get X amount of views or X amount of engagement or X amount of brand deals in a month, like my income fluctuates. So I think don't put that pressure on yourself like right off the start. Really try to get your platforms, whatever it is you're working on, up to a point where you feel like it can actually support you before you even think about like shifting full time. Cause it's terrifying and you don't want to stress yourself out like that.
Oh my gosh, no. You know what? Like I sort of relate to that because I had a situation like that happen to me when I had like recently graduated from college and I was sort of trying to find my way in the world and it was like my first job and I really hated. I mean, I didn't necessarily hate the job as much as it was just really big transition from being a student to being like a person that works type of thing in like an
Totally.
actual
Hmm.
society. And I just hated it. I hated the routine. I hated everything. And I had always had this hobby of baking. And I was like, I'm just going to start my baking business. I'm going to be like a baker. And that's like, I don't know what got into my head. And I started doing it. And it was so exhausting and tiresome and just overall so difficult. I also didn't start it with a business plan. I was like 22 years old and really dumb. So it's not like I was like doing anything, but it was just so overwhelming for me. And I had a full time job that I didn't really feel confident enough to sort of quit and focus
Hmm.
specifically on that. And I got to a point where like what you said about hating it, just like I didn't want to walk into a kitchen and measure another cup of flour. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
I do not want to make another cake. And
Totally.
like I did it for I would say like 4 months and then I quit.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah.
this is not going to work. And in hindsight, there were a lot of mistakes that I made. But what you said of like jumping into something and putting yourself a lot of pressure before you're ready is really resonates because all I can think about is myself like full of flour in the kitchen. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people don't realize that like you only see like the glamorous side of content creation online and it's like, oh, they're traveling and they're doing this and they're working with brands and it's amazing and it seems so easy. And by no means am I saying I have the toughest job in the world. I know that. I know there's like this, like, I feel very grateful for having this career path. But at the same time, I think oftentimes people don't talk about the actual like business side of content creation and the stuff that you have to start learning. Because yes, there's the creative aspects, and maybe you already have video skills and editing skills and script writing skills. And so you're already going in like a step ahead. But what about reviewing contracts and reviewing legal matters? What about, negotiating for yourself and selling yourself and marketing yourself? And making sure that you're setting up your LLC and making sure that you are filing your taxes. Like all of that aspect is, especially as a creative person, you just don't think about. And then suddenly when you're in it and tax time comes or it's time to invoice, you're like, wait a second, what is going on? And it's tough to learn it when you have to. And so having that preparation, I think just helps a ton, like just kind of go into it slowly, do it, work on it case by case or like deal by deal or video by video and like learn those hard and soft skills. Because it'll just help you with your success in the long run.
It will. And I think a lot of people have sort of people like you who joined the space before it. I think nowadays we see a lot of content creators or aspiring content creators join these platforms with a little bit more knowledge than before.
Totally.
Even if it's like misguided or whatever, I think people are a little bit more aware. But I think what I've seen like with people like you who sort of evolved is a lot of really bad experiences when they grew so much they started to need a team and
Hmm.
they were so bad at hiring a team because they
Yeah.
like you also had like these kids who are being famous that all of a sudden need to have managers and the managers are terrible and you know
Yeah.
that sort of escalated into like really messy situations that I've seen happening online because people have sort of
Totally.
stumbling upon this whole content creation. And what you said is very true of thinking of it in a very sort of pretty way and not about the fact that, if you're a content creator, you're still a business that needs to do all of the business part of the content, not just fun videos.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's amazing that from such a young age now, you're able to actually start a business and kind of grow into that entrepreneurial mindset. I think it's awesome that it's provided the opportunity for people to do that at such a young age. But you're right, like there's just unfortunately in the industry still, and I'm sure in every industry, there are people who just aren't great humans and that are going to take advantage of you. There are brands that are going to take advantage of you. And if you are at that stage in your life yet where you don't know how to like stand up for yourself or negotiate for yourself or like recognize when something isn't going right, it can be really damaging to not just your business, but like your mental health as well, right? Like it's tough. So that's definitely something I sympathize with, like empathize with the younger creators, because I just know like I've been through my fair share of crappy managers and like being taken advantage of. And it's like, man, that was so rough for me, even in like my early 20s. So I can't imagine being like 14 or 15 and having to go through that, right? Nuts. Yeah.
For me, like when I started working at Penji, I was given sort of the influencer aspect of it. So I do a lot of brand deals with influencers as well. We do like
Hmm.
content collaborations, things like that. And what I learned, because I had never really been on that side of content before, what I've learned sort of working here is how unregulated the content creator industry is. You
Yep.
will get so many different prices from influencers for sponsored videos. I would say they're so different. There's not even like a specific one that I could say like, oh, if it has X amount of followers, their numbers are here. It really is very much dependent on the person.
Yeah.
You have very different ways of how people manage their own brand deals and social platforms. Like I've had people who I have never spoken to. I've only spoken to their managers.
Hmm.
I have people who I speak to personally all the time. Like it's so different. And all
Yeah.
I think about is how overwhelming that is for someone who is not um backed up by anything. And you're just by yourself. And then you have to sort of navigate this world where there's no rules, essentially. And you're allowed to do whatever, both as a brand and as a creator. And whoever
Yeah.
there to catch it, that's like good for you.
Yeah, totally. It's like the wild, wild west still. I mean, it is such a new industry still. So I think there's lots to be built on and like precedences to be created, but we're still definitely in an era where we're like everyone is figuring it out. And like, especially now as there's such a creator boom and there's younger and younger creators who are blowing up and doing amazing, I think there needs to be just like, yeah, more of somewhat of a standard or just like more of a standardized way of doing things and like managing people because I think it would help everyone if there was
Yeah, I think
brands included.
so. Because, like, honestly, like, full transparency, I think as a brand, I think we try to be really good with our influencers. We try to be respectful. We try to be as best as possible, but we also struggle a lot, especially with pricing. I think that's like the most taboo thing to talk
Yeah,
about because pricing is so different for everyone. And
totally.
we've had like people that we really want to work with, but they're giving you prices that are just ridiculous. And you're like, I'm sorry, we can't pay you $1 million for a 30-second integration or
Yeah,
and it's you want to give people their worth. You don't want to sort of be cheap and be like, no, you're not worth any money. But at the same time, you're trying to not overdo it. And then, as a brand, you have to think of your ROI. I've had people that I've spoken to that
100%.
I have to say that to them, like, listen, it's just what you're asking for is not worth it. There is no ROI
Mhm.
for us. And it sounds so harsh, but it's also like the truth. And I think it's very interesting how like that sort of discussion, I think is that kind of truthful discussion hasn't evolved yet. And it can be very stressful or very hard to hear. Cause like I think as a brand, we've also had to hear people say like, you are not compatible with my platform. And it can be
Yeah.
confusing for you. I think for both sides, it can be like a lot.
Yeah, totally. I've been on both now, like the influencer side and the brand side. And so I can really see it from both views because on the brand side, like you said, you have to think about your ROI, right? It's like most of the time when you're going into an influencer like collaboration or partnership, you most likely won't get like the most conversions from it. It's really like this brand awareness campaign. Or at least that's like a part of the value that you're getting out of it, which can be hard to measure. And then from the influencer side, it's like we also think about it as like, okay, yeah, there's the ROI for you. And like you're obviously paying for what you feel like the metrics are that matter to your business, but you have to, but like for us, I think some brands will forget that, there is a lot of work that goes into it. You're not just paying for the or for their platform numbers or for their viewership. You're also paying for their time put into like filming and editing and all of that. So there's like this balance, right? But I think the most important thing, both for brands and for influencers to remember that is that it's not personal. Like it's never personal, right? Like if
Yeah.
it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's going to be tons of other influencers the brand can work with, but there's also going to be tons of other brands that the influencers can work with. And if it, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't match up, right? Like sometimes you can find amazing collaborations where it matches up perfectly and their expectations and your expectations align, but it's just not always the case. And I do feel like sometimes people take it too personally and think that maybe it's an attack on, their worth or what like their creativity. And that's just not the case. It's like from both ends, you have to think about it as a business. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I agree. I think like I really don't like it when I have to say no to people or I don't like
Yeah.
having hear the no. But I think what you said is sort of like trying to think about it from just a more business aspect has helped me a lot because I think at first I remember when I started and they were sort of training me and they were like, just say no. And I was like, I don't want to. I've been emailing this person for like so long and how am I going to say no? And they're like, it's not going to work out. You have to say no. Like, you
Yes.
can't sort of keep this just because you're afraid of what their reaction might be. And then the
Mhm.
collaboration is not going to do any good, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's you have to sort of learn to say that no is the answer and that it's okay. And that
totally.
maybe not going forward with a certain project is better than going forward with something that's not going to work out in the long run.
Totally. I mean, like there's opportunity cost on both sides, right? And I think from an influencer, like content creator standpoint, it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like even if this brand had to pull out at the last second or right before you sign or something like that, it's like, okay, like sure, you missed out on this deal, but it's opening up your time to like better opportunities and other opportunities. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of like switching that mindset a little bit and just realizing like it's all just yeah, you're connecting and you're building a relationship with like the human behind the brand or like the influencer. But at the end of the day, there is that aspect of it's a business transaction. And sometimes like it just doesn't go.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think, like, at least for us, we have people that we have not worked with in the past and then we worked with later on because at
Mhm.
that moment in time, it didn't match. And then later,
Completely.
yeah.
Yeah. And like by no means does it mean that you as two humans like have to end your relationship just
Mhm.
because the brand deal didn't go through. It's like it's nice to continue to build and like network. And like you said, something might come up in the future, or like budget might open up, or like they might be a right fit for a different product. You never know. So it's nice just to like continue that human relationship, even if the transaction didn't go through.
Yeah, you can have each other's radar because you don't know, like, in the future how that might sort of turn out. And
Totally.
it is sort of, like you said, the wild, wild west. So it keeps you on your toes
Oh,
constantly.
totally. Yeah. It's never boring, that's for sure.
Boring. Yeah. I think, like, another question that I had for you is how do you sort of organize your income? Because I think with content creation, it's so different the way that you're getting income. You don't have a specific number of brand deals that you get offered, right? Like it's like kind of like what you have and what you choose to take and how you choose to manage that. And then you have what you're making off of like video revenue from like videos that you're posting on social media apps. And then you have like all of this other side work. How does that sort of add into a cohesive way to finance everything?
Totally. Oh my God. Budgeting really comes into play here. And I am glad that I am still freelancing and sort of like keeping a toe in the tech world because that at least gives me a consistent form of income. I think right now, like you're right, like the content creation side, as far as brand deals, it's just it crazy unpredictable. It's based on seasonality. It's based on each brand's payment terms. Even if there is a payment term set, there are certain brands who will pay late due to their financial situations. You just never know. You it's tough because you can't even budget based on your payment terms. It's like, oh, this brand says they're going to pay net 30. Net 30 comes by if you don't get your check, like you have to make sure you can still cover your expenses. So I think yeah, budgeting really plays into it here. I would say that my AdSense revenue is pretty stable right now. So I know that if I post this many videos, like once a week, my AdSense dollars will be this amount, like baseline. And then if, let's say, I have a outlier video that goes viral or performs really well, then I at least know that, okay, this is the baseline and like anything else above that is great. And then my freelancing income is also pretty consistent. Like I have sort of like a retainer deal with my client. And so I'm able to know, like, okay, at least I will get this much from freelancing, this much from AdSense. And then all of the brand deals and all that is just like the cherry on top. And so when it comes to actually budgeting like my brand deals and the amount that I make from there, I don't see it as like a this month I made 6,000 and next month I made 2,000. Like I really look at it as like, okay, this is how much I need to live every month. Like I need to pay rent, I need to buy groceries, I need to pay for my car, I need to pay for my gas. Um, I cover those expenses and then I kind of like average out the total. So it's like if I'm making 6K this month and like 2K next month, that's actually 8K spread over 2 months. So like technically in between these 2 months, I'm making 4K a month. But
Yeah.
I just kind of try to like look at my brand deals more long term and don't try to just look at it month by month. Because it's a lot less stressful. And then also I'm able to say like, okay, like if somewhere down the line I have a month where I have no brand deals, then at least I know like my previous months would cover that. So I would never go and be like, I made 6K this month. Let's spend 6K. Like, no. We're like,
It's
we're budgeting for the next like 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important because I think when I've spoken to influencers, like I've also talked to people who have had difficult, like I have talked to people who used to have very successful channels that for whatever reason, they're not doing as well anymore. And
Mhm.
they're giving me prices that are really, really high. And I'm just like, this is a very extreme pricing. And then they're like, yeah, I know, but I need to make rent. So you need to pay me like as much as
Yeah,
possible. And I mean, I empathize, but I also think it's like, it really shows how unpredictable in the industry is and how you need to be prepared for that. Right. Because I think
totally.
social media in general, any platform, there's a lot of aspects that you can't control. You get a lot of branding strategies and like content creation help, but there's a lot of things that you don't even know how the algorithm works entirely, no matter
Mhm.
what you study it. So I think what you said is just sort of like preparing for that situation where so that you don't put all of your eggs in one basket and then you're asking for a bunch of money from this one thing that you do get.
Yeah. And I think like I empathize because yes, it is unpredictable, but it's even like if you think about it, even if you work a full-time job, like when you go and ask for a promotion or a raise, are you saying to your boss like, "Hey, my apartment costs 3K a month. I need you to pay me more so I can pay for my apartment." Like you would never ask that, right?
Yeah.
Like you would ask for a promotion based on your performance or like something you did well. So I think there's this level of like, hey, like I get it that you have your life expenses that you need to cover and that's great, but like it's not on the brand or like the company to do that for you. Like it's on you to like manage your finances well enough that you can afford the life that you're living. Um I don't know, I don't know if it's a controversial opinion, but I always just think like at the end of the day, this is a business and like the worth is based on, yeah, but it's based on the numbers and like your work. It's not really based on like the life that you want to live. Like that's on you to figure out.
Yeah, I think I agree because I have a lot of people that I have to say that like, I'm sorry, your numbers are not there. Like
Yeah.
and it's I know that a lot of people don't like to hear that, and
Mm,
they will be upset. But as a brand, like from a brand perspective, you can't really work with someone as an influencer if they're not doing that job of influencing people because then there's no point to it. And
yeah.
it really is horrible. And like you said, I empathize because I also think I would be really stressed out if I have to make rent and like, I'm
Yeah.
not getting any income. But at the same time, you have to learn to sort of figure out how to fix it yourself and not put it into a one specific thing.
Totally.
And I
Totally.
wouldn't even say just like a brand, but just in general, because you never know what that pressure is going to come from, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Angel, it's been great having you. Um, you've also given me, I think it's really interesting to talk to someone who knows both sides of the coin, of, both being the party that's hiring and being the party that's being hired, because you have a very unique perspective. I
Mm,
think a lot of times we sort of get caught up in our own little windows of like, I'm a content creator or I'm the brand, and we don't see each other's side a lot. And it's
yeah.
very interesting. For anybody who wants to consume your content or go over, talk to you or anything like that, the floor is yours to talk a little bit about your platforms and where they can find you.
Yeah. Where you want to find me is based on what you're interested in. Just because I talk about so many different things, but my Instagram is at Speak of the Angel and my TikTok is at Angel, Zheng, Angel Zheng. But on those platforms, I do mainly lifestyle and work from home content. If you enjoy watching long form, I am on YouTube talking about like personal growth, productivity, working from home, career. And I did recently start my own podcast as well. So the podcast is called Feel Good Lab. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And we really dive into the topics of like the intersection between personal growth and career success. So yeah, whatever you're interested in, find me on whatever platform works for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be adding all of your links to the description of the podcast so that people can go in and find you. It
Amazing.
was great having you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. This was so much fun. Thanks for having me. And best of luck with this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, I will see you on the next episode. Have a great day.